Okay, let's try this again, Mr. Tarantino. You're muted, sir.
At this time, I would like to reconvene the regular board meeting. Will the clerk of the board please call the roll?
Hall.
Present.
Solis.
Present.
Pike.
Here.
Segura.
Here.
Tarantino.
Here.
Gianni.
Here.
Collier.
Here.
Will you please stand and join me in a moment of silence and the Pledge of Allegiance recited by our student board representative, Ethan Collier.
Please place your right hand over your heart. Ready, begin. I pledge
allegiance to the
to
flag
the flag of the United States
of
of
the
America and to the republic for which
Republic,
it stands, one nation,
nation,
under
under
God,
God,
indivisible,
indivisible, with
for liberty and justice for all.
Have nobody else say it.
The board met in closed session preceding this meeting to discuss the following issues. 1, public employee discipline, dismissal, release, reclassification, reassignment, resignation, transfer, Government Code Section 54957. 2, conference with legal counsel, anticipated litigation, paragraph 2 of subdivision D of Government Code Section 54956.9. 3, conference with labor negotiator, Government Code Section 54957.6. And 4, public employee performance evaluation, Government Code Section 54957, Superintendent. The board took the following action. Moved by Hall and seconded by Solis to approve the request for a leave of absence for one certificated employee with the vote of Hall yes, Pike yes, Segura yes, Solis yes, and Tarantino yes. At this time, I will entertain a motion to approve the agenda for the May 26, 2020 regular board meeting. Do I have a motion to approve?
I make the motion to approve the agenda.
Second. Solis.
Moved by Hall, seconded by Solis. Madam Clerk, will you call for the vote?
Collier.
Yes.
Hall.
Yes.
Solis.
Yes.
Pike.
Yes.
Segura.
Yes.
Tarantino.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
The board is proud to recognize an employee who has been with the district since 1993, when he started in the classified unit as a campus assistant. In 1997, he joined the certificated unit as a substitute teacher. Since that time, he has served as a teacher, assistant principal of student activities, assistant principal, principal of a small school, and for the last 5 years in his current position as the coordinator of athletics. He is moving on to serve the entire San Diego County as the CIF commissioner, where we are confident he will find nothing but success. We thank him for his 27 years of leadership and dedicated service to the district, to students, and to staff. And we wish him all the best of luck in his new position. Please help me congratulate Mr. Joe Hines.
Thank you very much, President Tarantino. And yeah, it's hard to believe that this time has come. It's hard to believe it's been 27 years. I'm definitely very excited about the new opportunity here. I just want to start off by thanking you, the Board of Trustees, for all your support over the years, especially the last 5 years in athletics. You know, whatever vision we had, you helped support that. You were always at events, you were always at games, you're always at award ceremonies. Mr. Pike, I think you have record for shaking the most hands out there, and I truly appreciate that and everything you've done. But I think the thing I'm most proud of with your guys' support is our one-of-a-kind wellness center. And I think that's something from, people come around and there's folks that come around from that have been all over the country and no one's seen that. No one's seen anything like that. But that couldn't happen without your guys' support and being behind that and sharing that vision with us. And, obviously putting our students' health and safety at the forefront is there. And that's just an awesome project that'll go on for years. And we're leading the rest of the county and the nation in that point. So that's awesome. Dr. Janney, thank you. I can't thank you enough, not just for your leadership and your support, Dr. Janney, and your mentoring, but always being available, no matter what I needed, no matter what Dr. Janney, can you come to a middle school event? Dr. Janney, can you be at this unified sports event? You would always check your calendar, and even if you had things going, you would always make sure you were there. And that's not just since I've been in this position. That's going all the way back to 1993, Dr. Janney. So again, I hope you know how much I appreciate you and everything you've done for me and my support, over the years. I have to thank my good friend, Dr. Glover. And, when we started this athletics thing, he and I started in the athletics Title IX. We were partners in our office down there. And just, again, his support and leadership and friendship over the years, I truly appreciate that, Dr. Glover. Thank you. Dr. Fulcher, my boss, again, helping us share this vision of what we're doing with athletics. Dr. Fulcher would never say no. He'd always listen, even if probably in his mind he thought, not a great idea, Mr. Hines, but I'm going to listen and we'll look at it and kind of let us go and do our thing in athletics. And, it's a big reason we're as successful as we are. And I couldn't do it without him. And I appreciate all his help. Dr. Geary, the entire maintenance team, the entire planning team, always with their help, support. I truly appreciate them, no matter what, if it was, hey, we got an emergency at a school, I need you guys out there, we need something to happen, helping us with our facilities, or even moving forward with the vision for the athletic facilities and what they do. They are in the forefront, and they truly understand the importance of that and the impact it has on the overall culture of the school, and I can't thank them enough. I have to also thank Ms. Jennifer Carbuccia, because a lot of these things I talked about here, all these things as an old athletic guy and as a coach, sometimes you forget about the importance of the details and contracts and those type of things. And as much as I'd want to run and do stuff, I had to, she was always good about, making sure that we went through the right steps and again, was always available no matter what time it was. If I had something that was important or an emergency, I could always run it by her, and she'd always give her support and always help us not fall in a bear trap there. So I thank Jenny for her help and support. Just the last couple, all the principals, APs, ADs, teachers, coaches over the years it's nothing that I did on my own. It's a team effort. And those people help truly, establish our athletics vision. And they're the ones that made it happen. We could sit there at the top and talk about all these great things, but it's those people in the trenches that made it work. And just, again, the friendships and those things we've made over the years is awesome. Last two people, obviously, the CTE department. Again, when I talked about our wellness center, they were huge with that. Elaine Liano, Jeff Cover, Ricardo Cisneros, Jeanette Gomez. I'm not just making that happen, but also putting athletic trainers at all of our school sites. That's something that most other districts in this county don't have. And we talk about the health and safety of our student athletes. It wouldn't happen without their help and their support and their work with Dr. Bates and Dr. Camerata to make all those things happen. And, again, I'm truly indebted to them and again, helping us with that. Last but not least is my athletics team. I'm just a small piece and together with them, that's who really makes the things work in athletics. That's Becky Aguiza, Alex Estrada, Dr. Vernon Moore, Bob Hughes was with us for several years, but moved on to principalship. John Baumgarten, Tim Tyler, former coaches that help us out with everything we do. They go above and beyond working with our student athletes, but help. Lynette Martinez, our district nurse. It's been an awesome team. I'm going to miss them dearly, but it's been a great 27 years. And, I think I'm a pretty decent example of the lifelong lessons and the importance that, athletics can play in our student athletes' lives. And again, I'm truly indebted and thank you all for everything you've done. We have the best athletics program in this county, and I won't be far away, but, and as Dr. Fulcher would always laugh at me, I appreciate you guys letting me have 30 seconds of your time here to thank you for, again, everything you've done for me in my career.
That's great. President Tarantino, can I say something?
Yes, I was going to ask for comments from the board, but I didn't. My hands weren't fast enough to move to unmute. So go ahead, Mike.
Mr. Hines, I just wanted to thank you for all your years of service. I've been around you a long time, big guy, and I've seen what you've done, where you started, and where you're heading, and where you're heading. So good luck in your new position. I know you'll be missed. I'm sure your mentors, Larry Perrondi, Gary Chapman, or George Onesorgan, are proud of your success, big guy. So congratulations, and I hope you do well, and don't be a stranger.
Thank you, Kevin. Mr. Pike, I'm sorry.
How come you call him by his first name and you don't call me by my first name? What's up with that, Mr. Hines?
I'm working on that, Mr. Tarantino. I'm going to surprise you one of these days.
Yeah. Anybody else want to stay in? Okay.
Sure.
Mr. Solis.
Mr. Hines, I just wanted to say thank you for all the years of service and the heart that you've shown, like our kids, and showed what Sweetwater is really about. And every day out there, you'd go out there and do it selflessly. You do it for the kids and for the betterment of them, and we really, really appreciate that. So I've seen you in action from afar, but always amazing, and you carry yourself well, and I know you're going to do well where you go, and we wish you luck, and thank you for everything you've done.
Thank you, Mr. Solis.
Mr. Segura.
Yes, thank you, sir, for all you've done. I could tell you, I have a daughter, as you know, that plays at sports at Castle, and I get to see, all the things she gets to do as a female athlete. And she's a great student as well. But I appreciate all the things you've done, and I've seen the work that you've done that materializes in our female students getting a fair shake and equal opportunity like they should, and all of our students at the school district and at each respective school. So thank you and good luck. I know this won't be the end.
Oh, definitely. Thank you, Mr. Segura.
Joe, I'd like to thank you for your vision and creativity. And again, you always put kids at the forefront. The institutionalizing of the winter, fall, and spring sports awards assembly, for lack of a better term, that was great because it not only got to showcase the athletes, but also you called attention to the parents who are integral in terms of athletes and getting them from place to place, and the support that they need in terms of, rest, food, all of those things that go into making an athlete successful. And again, the creativity that you've brought to this district. I really appreciate that. You were very instrumental in the unified games, and now almost every campus, I think, has unified games. And then not only that, but I think, if I'm not mistaken, we were able to host a few of the regional unified games. And again, because of your vision and your commitment to kids, and you definitely are going to be missed. I don't know what to say, except it's going to be tough where you are, because under this COVID stuff, I want to know how you're going to play football distancing 6 feet apart.
You're one of about 10,000 people that's asking that question right now.
That's going to be your first challenge, Joe. But I know that you will meet it head on, and you will make the best decision in the interest of kids. So again, congratulations, all the best.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, I echo everyone else, Mr. Hines. It's been a pleasure from the very first board meeting where you were up there, and obviously a lot of bundled of energy up at the podium, but you've had a great success in your endeavors with our district. And I echo your remark about the athletic center. It's really phenomenal. A real kudos to you for bringing that together as the lead in that area. I really thank you for that. I thank you for looking at the equity of our schools and making sure that the schools that were least served were becoming really important. I've seen a change in my area, tremendous change, and I want to thank you for that. And I wish you the best of the future. I know you're still going to have a look over of us from a higher role, but I know that you'll keep us in your heart, and I really look forward to hearing from you in the future and your future successes. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hall. Awesome. Thank you guys again very much.
Okay, thank you.
Joe.
Wish you all the best.
Thank you.
We will now provide an opportunity for our San Diego County Office of Education representative, Dr. Mark Scavarna, to make any comments. Should he?
No comments at this time.
Okay, thank you, Mark. And now we will have an update from our superintendent, Dr. Janney. Dr. Janney.
Thank you, Mr. Tarantino. Welcome everyone to our board meeting, the last one in May. First, yesterday was Memorial Day, so we want to salute our veterans. We acknowledge that many have made the ultimate sacrifice in service to our country, and we're grateful to our fallen veterans and their families, and so we just want to salute them. We've also been working under COVID-19 conditions since we first closed schools on March 13th, 2020. This is the beginning of the 11th week, and it's our final 2 weeks of the school year for students and school site staff. There's been uncertainty and cabin fever. There's been creative endeavors and new beginnings. There's been sleepless nights and collaboration to celebrate. If anyone is wondering how we are doing, I just want everyone to know that everyone has been going nonstop to address the needs of our students and families. And we're a bit tired. I've heard and read about COVID-19 fatigue, and we are definitely experiencing a fatigue unlike any other. With that said, we are all extremely tired, whether you're working remotely, working in the field, or helping your students at home, or helping some other students. We're all extremely tired. We may be short on patience, we may be short on understanding, and we may be short on empathy because of that. The good news is that we are down to the final 2 weeks of the school year. The challenge is that we will be closing school in ways we have never done before. And I encourage all of us to take time for self-care so that we feel better and that we're able to interact with others in the best way possible. And now it's especially important we remember to be extra kind and extra supportive. So over the past several weeks, from Governor Newsom to State Superintendent Thurman, to school districts up and down the state and across the nation, everyone is trying to figure out when we are going to open the new school year and what it will look like. We have formed 4 work groups composed of staff, students, and families who are discussing and determining detailed plans on a variety of educational and operational options. The guiding principles these work groups focus on are, I want to remind everybody again, to plan for a reinvented sense of normal operations on the first day of classes, whenever that is, to work to ensure the health, safety, and well-being of students, staff, and the community in everything we do and every decision we make, to incorporate our LCAP goals into the overall plan, and that we will think through unintended consequences that may alter our plans, create planning scenarios, and communicate clearly at each step. One of those steps is coming before the board tonight. The South County Superintendents, Chula Vista, National City, San Ysidro, South Bay, and Sweetwater, we've been collaborating on determining a start date for the 2021 school year based on the best information we know. That information includes executive orders by the governor and health official guidance and on social distancing and sanitation protocols. Last week, all 5 superintendents met with all of the labor union presidents, both certificated and classified, to discuss the calendar. As we all know, school calendars are a negotiated decision. So based upon the surveys that our union presidents sent to their members, the elementary districts preferred a later start date around August 10th, and Sweetwater staff preferred our regular start date of July 20th. As we know, elementary and secondary schools have different issues to address based on our age groups. But what all districts agreed with was how important it is to align our calendars to the degree possible in consideration of families who have students in more than one district. So we met with SEA and SEJ this past Thursday, and we agreed to a date that meets our elementary feeder districts with a calendar that is later than we would normally start, but not too late to impact when first semester ends for our students. That date being proposed to our board tonight is August 3rd, 2020, 2 weeks after our normal start date of July 20th. Now, if our board approves the calendar, our work groups now have a target date. We want our students, staff, and families to know that we would not, more than likely, it's not likely that we're going to open up brick and mortar on August 3rd unless all restrictions were lifted by the governor and health officials. Even then, we would take into consideration our own COVID-19 data in South County. As we all know, South County's percentage of positive tests run higher than the rest of the entire San Diego County, and that is a critical factor in final decisions. More than likely, we will open the 2021 school year in full distance learning or a blended or modified learning model. Again, our work groups are determining all of those option details over the next month. On June 4th, thanks to our assistant principals of activities for developing the idea and our partnership with Southwestern Community College, the City of Chula Vista, and the Chula Vista Police Department, we are hosting a district-wide senior celebration parade for all of the class of 2020. This event is not in lieu of a graduation ceremony. This parade is being held solely to celebrate our seniors. More details are being provided by each of the high schools to their individual students and staff. And as we abide by county health official guidelines, this event is only for seniors and their families. No spectators are allowed. Only seniors, senior families, and school site and district staff will attend. But we're so excited to be able to celebrate our class of 2020 in this most unique way. Also, a few weeks ago, we surveyed our seniors and senior families and asked if they wanted a virtual graduation ceremony or a postponed in-person graduation ceremony. The survey results were overwhelmingly in favor of postponing the graduation ceremony until we could hold an in-person event. We still do not know if July, August will be an option, but that is our plan as of now. Finally, I want to share some staff and student recognitions and end with a video produced by some of our students in our district. Last week, I'm happy to announce that we served our 1 millionth meal to our students across the district. The actual total as of last week was 1,148,221 meals served to our students since we started that first week we closed schools. That's pretty incredible. So kudos to our nutrition services staff, our custodial staff, and maintenance staff, and our site administrators for helping to make that happen. We want to congratulate both Hilltop High School and Benito Vista High School for being selected for Charger Champion grants. We've had many other schools over the years get that grant, and we're excited that they will be improving their campuses as a result of that grant. Roughly a dozen students qualified for the 2020 National Merit Scholarship in San Diego County. And this past weekend in the Union Tribune, I think it was, we have one of those dozen students across the county that's a National Merit Scholar this year. Congratulations to, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing this person's name right, but it looks like Seongian Park of Olympian High School. So congratulations to you. That's not many people can say they're a National Merit Scholar. Also, Castle Park High School athlete Brittany Rodriguez became the first player in Trojan history to sign to play lacrosse at a university, at Eastern Oregon University. Congratulations, Brittany. Way to go. And to her coach, Coach K. And then we had, as usual, the Mariachi Foundation scholarship winners. We have several. We have a Founders Award from Chula Vista High School, Jacqueline Zuno. We have the Christine Aranda Award, Natalia Rodriguez from San Ysidro High. And then we have about a dozen or so, maybe more, students who earned $1,000. That first award, the Founders Award, is $3,000 scholarship. The Christine Aranda Award is a $2,000 scholarship. We have several $1,000 scholarships. We have a graduating high school student special award from Otay Ranch, Leliana Barula. And then we have about 5 or so ballet folklorico scholarships of 750. So congratulations to all of those students. You'll see their names listed in my message when I post it on the an email and in the website. And tonight I want to finish my message with a video produced by the Olympian High School students in Mr. Steve Exum's CTE film class. The video's message highlights our gratitude to healthcare workers in our area. It's excellent. Please take a look. And thank you, Deanne, for displaying this. I think it's like a 3-minute video. Thank you very much.
No?
+17145283198 is now exiting.
Is it coming through now?
No, no sound. Is there supposed to be sound?
You want me to stop it or?
We're sorry. We're not
Sorry.
sure why the sound's
I
not
don't
coming
know.
through. There is a great song. So hopefully you'll log on and when you see my message, and it'll be on the district website as well. We plan on sending this to some of our area hospitals because it's such a well done video, and just sorry you couldn't hear it tonight, but we'll post it. Thank you very much.
Is now joining.
Thank you, Dr. Janney. And now we will have a report from our student board representative, Ethan Collier. Welcome back, Ethan. We missed you at the last meeting.
Hello. I apologize for my absence. I was studying for my AP exams.
No apology necessary. I just wanted you to know that you were missed.
Oh, well, thank you. I don't have anything this meeting because as we are powering through the last 2 weeks of the school year, we must be resilient. And I haven't been able to meet with the AC presidents because we've all met the same faith with APs. And we're also all studying for makeups because there were several issues this year with the College Board administration. So unfortunately, I don't have anything to report at this time. But thank you.
That's quite all right. Your studies come first, so I'm glad that you're concentrating on those. So thank you very much, Ethan. And now we will move to item D1, which is to conduct a public hearing regarding the consideration and adoption of a statutory school facility fee increase in accordance with the State Allocation Board. Statutory school facility fee increase for residential and commercial/industrial construction, and adopt resolution number 4678 approving an increase in level 1 statutory school facility fees imposed on residential and commercial/industrial construction pursuant to Education Code section 17620 and Government Code section 65995. At this time, I will open the public hearing. Madam Clerk, are there any speakers for the public?
There are no speakers.
Okay. If I have no speakers, then any comments? I know any comments at all from anyone? If not, then I will have a motion to adopt Resolution 4678. Do I have a motion?
So move.
Okay.
I'll second.
Moved by Segura, seconded by Mr. Pike. Madam Clerk, will you call for the vote?
Collier,
Yes.
Hall,
Yes.
Solis,
Yes.
Segura,
Yes.
Pike,
Yes.
Tarantino.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Okay, this is the point on the agenda where members of the public may address the board on any matter not on the agenda, and they have 3 minutes each to do so. Board of Trustees cannot legally take action on or respond to matters not posted on the public agenda, but will refer the matter or matters to the superintendent's office for review and report. Madam Clerk, are there any speakers?
Yes.
Okay.
The first comments are from Anna Maya. As a Jewish American Hispanic female with Arabic and Turkish descent enrolled at Bonita Vista Senior High School, it seems most appropriate to bring awareness to the district board about the draft ethnic studies model curriculum. In 2016, the California State Board of Education passed a bill calling for the teaching of ethnic studies in public high schools across the state. In August 2019, a draft was released for public comment. While I commend the state for mandating this education about understanding and appreciating diverse ethnic groups, equality, inclusion, justice, and more, there are significant issues with the original language in the model curriculum. State education officials have recognized this and are making changes. However, over the last few weeks, a number of school boards across California have voted on resolutions endorsing the deeply flawed first draft, which is why I would like to clearly lay out the issues that my community sees within the curriculum. To begin with the glossary, the curriculum includes a definition of the boycott, divestment, and sanctions movement against Israel. It claims the purpose of BDS is to establish freedom for Palestinians living under apartheid conditions. The curriculum continues to explain one-sided BDS talking points, offering no critical perspectives about this campaign of hate, including that its true purpose, as stated by its founders, is to end the existence of Israel, the only Jewish state. As I prepare for college life after I graduate high school, one of the aspects that I must be aware of as a Jewish student is the BDS movement. There is often a direct correlation between the movement being present on college campuses and anti-Semitism. There is no issue with studying these movements in an unbiased and well-rounded way, but that is not prevalent in the draft and shouldn't even be mentioned in it. However, there are other issues. There is language that forms a false equivalence between Israel's efforts to stop terrorists from entering communities to murder innocent people and U.S. policies on the border with Mexico. There is language urging teachers to use an anti-Israel poem which insinuates Jews control the media and use it to manipulate the public, a common anti-Semitic slur that is still used against Jews today. The curriculum states that the implementation of ethnic studies presents an opportunity for teachers to enable students to develop a deep appreciation for cultural diversity and inclusion, and aids in the eradication of bigotry, hate, and racism. That being said, why does the curriculum not contain a single lesson about the Jewish community? Jews are only mentioned in passing, and with the rise of anti-Semitism, this does a significant disservice to Jewish teens across the state. Now, I want to reiterate that ethnic studies is crucial to teach in public schools, especially in today's day and age. As I previously stated, the idea of this curriculum is undoubtedly necessary, although some conditions mentioned in the draft do not foster an environment of understanding. Ethnic studies is essential in our public school system so that students can develop a deeper understanding and respecting, appreciating, and accepting other ethnicities. That is why I'm here today, to voice my perspective on this original draft. After the public comment closed, there were 19,000 comments voicing concerns over the curriculum from diverse communities, including Sikhs, Hindus, Armenians, and Jews. As mentioned in a Los Angeles Times article, this curriculum feels like it is more about imposing pre-digested political views on students than about widening their perspectives. It is crucial to acknowledge the importance of teaching students about diverse groups and their identities, yet we need to recognize when the conversation instills partisan and biased points of view. This proposed curriculum would be teaching students about a movement's opinion on certain ethnicities, rather than allowing us to learn about the actual ethnicities. Therefore, I strongly urge you to vote against this draft as it stands today. The next comments are from Blanca Wines. As a parent stakeholder, the layoffs as well as the elimination suspension of the learning centers are of great concern. However, I do believe budget cuts must happen, but let's be fair and equitable and cut positions across the board starting from the top. Here are a few questions many parents have. How many administrative positions have been cut since November 2018 to date to offset the budget crisis? Dr. Fulcher and Dr. Janney, why aren't learning center parents informed about the elimination of learning centers? Why aren't parents provided the opportunity for a public forum meeting to discuss possible solutions? Isn't parent engagement part of the LCAP goal? Why haven't learning center parents received information in regard to where all of the 1,200 students will be placed? How are you addressing the needs of students with IEPs? I know I haven't been given an answer because according to Dr. Fulcher, he only has ideas but no real plan. In the many meetings I've been involved in, this district promotes transparency and parent engagement. You have failed on both. The next comments are from Jessica Davis. Good evening. Teaching is hard work. I think the last 10 weeks have proven that. Certainly all of the memes and social media posts showing appreciation for teachers as a result of the current crisis demonstrate the value of all that teachers, librarians, and counselors do to support student learning. It is that tangible cost we need to discuss. Yes, teaching is hard and the hours are long. I know that I spend more waking hours working now than I did as the VP of administration for a 400-person company. Teaching is also a work of heart. My colleagues and I surrender a great deal of time and money in the pursuit of our calling. However, you as the board and Sweetwater have invested an even greater amount of money in the training and development of all 237 educators and counselors you are proposing to terminate. That is a significant amount of money that will be wasted, and ultimately our students are the ones who lose. One of the reasons I wanted to teach in this district was the real personal savings of the induction program. I invested my time and you invested considerable resources in allowing me to clear my credential and increase my value in the educational marketplace. Ostensibly, that was to educate the students of Sweetwater. In the almost 5 years I have been in this district, I have also become certified in AP English Language and Composition, ERWC, and AVID. Additionally, I have participated in just about every professional development opportunity afforded me, so much so that I became an English Language Arts curriculum specialist and presenter of professional development both at my site and at district-wide events. I am but one educator who embodies lifelong learning and remains dedicated to continually honing my craft for the benefit of my students, as evidenced by the events of recent weeks. It should also be clear that your investment has been substantial. Now multiply that investment by 236 educators, and the financial loss to this community is staggering. Is that what you want your legacy to be? Losing well-trained and passionate educators that our students need? The stakeholders of Sweetwater deserve better. Their investment should be preserved. The next comments are from Julie Walker. President Tarantino, members of the board, and Dr. Janney. Yesterday, as I was being interviewed by Reuters reporter Scott Paltrow, I was asked a very thought-provoking question about the layoffs of new teachers. What will be lost when these teachers don't return to the classroom next year? My first thought was, what would I miss most and what I gain when I have a new colleague join my team? New teachers and teachers coming from other districts bring new ideas and reinvigorate our profession. These members bring the latest research and innovation from our teacher training programs and help energize our curriculum, not only for the students they teach, but also the students of the other teachers they work with. We have invested so much into these 200 plus teachers. The time and money you have invested in induction, professional development days, PLCs, conferences, and other pullout days will now be to the benefit of other districts and their students, hopefully. Financially, a conservative estimate of the money spent on the average new teacher in our district is about $10,000. $10,000 times 200 teachers equals approximately $2 million. This is what you are letting go when you insist that the only way to balance this budget is to eliminate, quote, positions. You are not eliminating positions, you are letting people go. You are letting go teachers who have stayed the course in spite of not having any pay raises for the last 3 years. You are letting go teachers who have families to support, student loans to pay, and insurance to provide for their families. Please stop the rhetoric and blame. We need to find real solutions that work in the long term. We have put something on the table. It's your turn to respond with your plan and long-range goals. The community needs this for their children. We need this for our members, and you need this for your conscience. The next comments are from Lucy Ugarte. Good evening, board members, President Tarantino, Superintendent Janney. I am Lucy Ugarte, Bonita Vista Middle teacher, SEA organizing chair, and site rep. I am not a member of the SEA bargaining team, but I do read our association's bargaining updates sent out to all 1,761 members. Therefore, I continue to be astounded by comments made during board meetings regarding the bargaining proceedings. These comments just aren't true, no matter how many times you say them. At 3:09 in meeting of May 11th, Ms. Carbuccia made statements to the effect that the district bargaining team repeatedly came to the table to find ways to avoid layoffs. How can this be true when no budget was presented by the district? Most times the district could not even say how many teachers would not be pink slipped. When they finally did give a number of 20 to 24 teachers not getting pink slips, they could not say out of how many total teachers pink slipped. It would have been irresponsible for teachers to entertain furlough days without real numbers. The district keeps forcing the idea of taking 2 furlough days. Even now, 8 days from the end of the 2019-20 school year, browbeating the idea of furlough days for the current year is not a good look or tactic. If, as Ms. Carbuccia says, they have tried to find other ways to avoid layoffs, where are those ideas? All teachers hear is take 2 furlough days. Do any of you realize the personal damage of taking 2 furlough days at this point in the school year? Does the administration of Sweetwater care? These would not be furlough days because most teachers will work through June 5th. What days would they even take off? So call it what it is, a pay cut. The district wants teachers to take a pay cut. 2 furlough days means a loss of anywhere between $600 to $1,000 out of June's pay warrant, which for some will be their final pay warrant issued by Sweetwater. The cruelty of sending pink slip teachers to unemployment with significantly less money is the attribute of the district, not fellow teachers. I have said all of this to you before in my comments from February and perhaps even farther back. Finally, if the $2 million in furlough savings means 20 to 24 teachers saved, then that means the $4 million the district pays out for early retirement incentive would have saved 40 to 48 teachers, mathematically speaking. It is disturbing, the narrative attempting to be imposed. Teachers are not responsible for pink slips. Teachers are not the reason negotiations have been stagnant. Teachers come to the table prepared with solutions. Just because those solutions are not what the district wants to hear, furlough days, doesn't mean they are not viable plans. Attempts to rewrite the past and insult the intelligence of teachers will only result in the expected consequence of such actions. Being quick to think that furloughs will be a cure-all and being in favor of them does not reflect well upon anyone for the reasons I previously stated. When actions and behavior contradict words, hollow rhetoric exists. Just because someone has said it does not make it truth. Thank you for your time. The next comments are from Matt Wines. I have 3 children in the Sweetwater School District. My children are very different, and that is not a slight to them at all. I believe schools take a herd approach with most kids. The most advanced and the ones who need the most help, I am sure, feel slighted. My kids fit in both of these categories. I have a son in the Learning Center, and my other 2 are on the honor roll. All 3 of them require special help. My son in the Learning Center needs extra help to focus, finish homework, and complete most school tasks. My other 2 on the honor roll get special help from their teachers keeping focus, finishing homework, and completion of certain tasks. They are all very different, but have similar needs. What would we take away from kids on the honor roll like we are about the learning centers? I don't think so. All 3 of my children have dreams. They are taking different paths to get there. Taking away the Learning Center would be a huge blow to helping my son get through his high school years and allowing him to learn with the aid of specialized help. I am asking you to please rethink your approach and leave in place this critical learning tool for my son, for our family, for all the families with kids in the learning centers. Please remember how critical this time in a teenager's life is and what this type of help can mean. Thank you. The next comments are from Michelle Ugarte. Dear Sweetwater board members and Superintendent Dr. Janney, my name is Michelle Ugarte, a teacher at Eastlake Middle, a site rep and member of the organizing team. I read the bargaining updates sent out by the union, but I am not part of the bargaining team. I have 4 items I would like to address with you tonight. First, I want to reiterate a statement that Mrs. Hall said at the last board meeting before voting on the final layoff of notice to teachers who did not request a hearing. Please understand I am paraphrasing here. Ms. Hall stated that she would like to have a comprehensive plan, have public hearings regarding cuts and the impact of the 7th through 8th grade expansion in the Chula Vista Elementary School District because none have occurred. I believe her point is, why does the district wait to the last urgent matter of time to discuss these items and board members are forced to make these rash decisions when it should not be the case? The district should be discussing solving the budget throughout these past years. Second, the statements made by both board members, Mr. Pike and Mr. Solis, and Labor Relation Jennifer Carbuccia about negotiating with SEA to save jobs were inaccurate. When SEA asked for specific budget numbers, none could be provided by the district at over 14 negotiation meetings. Also, the cost of the SERP to the district is about $4 million. So how is saving $2 million from furloughs actually helping to save teachers' positions? In addition, Ms. Carbuccia stating that the district requests to bargain to discuss other means of solving the budget crisis so layoffs will not occur, such as the calendar, is not the case. The district was only interested in and continues to only be interested in teachers taking furlough days and nothing else. Third, has the board truly thought out the consequences of schools not having librarians and SIS coordinators? What about the implications for students who are very vulnerable, are forced into a program that they have tried before, like independent study, but did not work for them? What will make it work for them now when learning centers did work for them? Please inform the school employees, parents, and students of Sweetwater of your plan regarding 1, who will do the work of the librarians? They are the only ones allowed to do that work. 2, who will monitor ELL students and complete other federal regulated duties when an assistant principal is overwhelmed with their own job duties? 3, what other alternative will be provided for those students who do not succeed in independent study and fall victim to not graduating from high school? Since we are in a budget crisis and need to make cuts and be more financially responsible, why does the district have 3 grading programs and 3 learning platforms? Tonight, the board is voting to approve a contract with Microsoft over a 3-year period, paying $500,000 each year. I think all stakeholders, teachers, staff, parents, need to provide input and discuss the pros and cons of Microsoft, Google, and Canvas for learning platforms, and do the same for Jupyter, Canvas, and Infinite Campus for the grading platforms, and then make a decision to have one platform for learning and grading. It is nice to have choice, but the money spent on all these could save teachers' jobs. Again, time is running out about renewing contracts, so a decision needs to be made once again on short notice without consultation and discussion. Finally, is the district able to encourage parents to contact legislators to support funding for education? Can the district send an email to families with legislators' contact information? Just a thought. Thank you for your time. The next comments are from Rose Anita Hernandez. We are in a funding crisis and at a point where we have to have distance learning to continue educating students. School sites are torn on what programs to use and reluctant to transition because of how fickle the district is with product purchasing. The district should not renew contracts for programs that don't have more than 50% of use district-wide. Almost all district-wide software purchases expire next month. There needs to be a district decision on what tools will be used by certificated staff. For example, Infinite Campus and Jupyter Grades, both of which provide the same services, will expire. Infinite Campus is $500,000, while Jupyter is $60,000. Save a few jobs by not renewing Infinite Campus. You are paying to renew Microsoft for the next 3 years. What is the 3-year plan for our continued use of Microsoft? Will administrators and teachers need to use Microsoft Teams as their teaching and communication platform due to our funding crisis? We have Canvas for an additional year. Will that contract be renewed? If not, then that needs to be stated for teachers to prepare for a transition to Teams. We cannot continue to pay for duplicating systems. It is not fiscally sound and is causing chaos within different school sites, especially for students from the middle schools that feed into high schools in our district. What I'm stating here are basic principles of enterprise architecture, which the current director has shown to be unfamiliar with. After the Infinite Campus debacle and our current duplication purchases, he should have been removed and replaced with someone who is not only knowledgeable about virtual teaching, but understands the role of an enterprise architect. Our district cannot continue to have incompetent people working at the district level, especially when this incompetence led to our current fiscal crisis. The purpose of this board is to provide needed oversight and be the voice of their constituents, not puppets of the district. The board's role is to protect students and parents, not the district. It is the board's job to look into issues such as the one I bring up today and make sure they do not persist. I implore you to do your jobs and make necessary cuts at the top rather than making cuts to those in the trenches of education. The next comments are from Sophia Rodriguez. Greetings, board members. I would like to know what's going on with our learning centers. I've emailed each one of you multiple times regarding this topic, but only 2 of you cared enough to respond, and that was Mrs. Hall and Mr. Segura, and I still don't have any answers. My daughter has an IEP and goes to Sweetwater High Learning Center and will be graduating this year, and my son will be entering into Sweetwater High for 9th grade. I won't even elaborate on how sad it is that this board is choosing to cut programs when there are still students who are thriving with the potential for greatness. I understand the decisions you're having to make are difficult ones, but that's why you're getting paid a nice salary, so at least make it worth it for the rest of us, please. So what happens to students who have IEPs? Will you still be able to provide the services that are required per federal and state laws? And if so, when will that start? Unfortunately, I've learned not to expect getting a response from Dr. Janney because apparently she's above responding to my emails, and Mr. Solis is MIA with Sweetwater High parents. However, I would certainly appreciate replies from each of you. I expect transparency from each of you regarding topics that are important to all of us. If we lived in a transparent world, parents and students wouldn't have to be conducting our own investigation into these matters. Fortunately, local news media sources and nonprofit legal societies have been steadfast in helping us get some answers to the questions we so desperately seek. Feel free to email me at sophiaericar@gmail.com, and thanks for your time. And the last comments are from Stephanie Hubner. Dear Sweetwater board members, Dr. Janney et al. I write this letter to implore you, on behalf of the students and South Bay communities, to reconsider the elimination of teacher librarian positions in Sweetwater District. One key thing that marks this district as being different from other sizable districts in California is the fact that we have teacher librarians at every school site. Because of this, we compete with affluent districts like Poway and Grossmont. Teacher librarian positions are not a commodity, they are a necessity. Our students need to be able to access the library and all of its services in order to compete with their peers of higher socioeconomic standing. As you have all heard from parents, students, and community members over the last couple of months, teacher librarians are essential. Teacher librarians are not loud people by nature. We quietly work in every facet of every school district-wide to assist all stakeholders, students, staff, and admin day in and day out. We have never needed to defend the need for our positions inside of our schools, until now. Everyone already knew that we are essential to the functionality of each school. The loss of teacher librarians will be detrimental to each site and the district. Even as COVID-19 closed our schools, we created virtual libraries where students could come to get assistance in the quote, Ask a Librarian portal, and librarians like myself set up virtual tech help desks where daily students came to ask me about library-related resources or programs. Hundreds and hundreds of calls and emails later, teacher librarians have put these students and their families back on track for distance learning. We have assisted teachers with program management and lesson planning, just as we have been doing for our entire careers. If you vote to continue the elimination of teacher librarian positions and effectively close the library doors to student use, no matter what next year looks like, you are going to have directly affected every student in this district. From the loss of daily access to loss of asset management to the loss of tech assistance to the loss of guidance that only a teacher librarian can provide, your vote will do this district a grievous disservice. As someone who pledged to serve the students of your own communities, I hope that you will recognize the damage you are doing to future generations by voting to eliminate teacher librarians. I implore you to reconsider the lasting implications of this vote. Now more than ever, we need the people who are on the front lines, like teacher librarians, servicing the needs of the students and the community. Thank you for your time and careful consideration on this matter. There are no further speakers.
Okay, the next item is the formation and approval of the consent agenda. Madam Clerk, will you please read the items that are being pulled from the consent agenda?
Yes, the following items are pulled. F3 by Mrs. Hall and staff, F6 by Mr. Segura, F7 by Mr. Segura, F8 by Mr. Tarantino and Mrs. Hall, F9 by Mr. Segura, Mrs. Hall, and the public, H1 by Mrs. Hall and the public, K1 by Mrs. Hall, K4 by Mr. Tarantino, K6 by Mrs. Hall, L3 by Mrs. Hall and staff, and L4 by Mrs. Hall.
Okay, I'm going to read them again in case I missed any. F3 by staff and Mrs. Hall, F6 by Mr. Segura, F7 by Mr. Segura, F8 by Mrs. Hall and myself, F9 by the public, Mrs. Hall and Mr. Segura. H1 by the public and Mrs. Hall. K1 by Mrs. Hall. K4 by myself. K6 by Mrs. Hall. L3 by staff and Mrs. Hall. L4 by Mrs. Hall. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, all right. I will now entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda. I'll move approval.
Second.
Okay, moved by Tarantino, seconded by Solis. Madam Clerk, will you call for the vote?
Collier,
Yes.
Hall,
Yes.
Solis,
Yes.
Ike.
Yes.
Segura,
Yes.
Tarantino.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Okay, next item is item F3, and that is a report on board requests for information and policy direction to staff. Mrs. Hall, you want to go first, or would you like to go last?
Well, if anyone else was going to say anything, I don't mind. Either way. You might, I have quite a bit to say, so if you want to let others go first.
Let me go, President Tarantino.
Sure. Mr. Segura, go ahead.
Thank you. So I just want to start off with a couple things that my daughter Karina, who was a graduate of Hilltop High School in 2014, just graduated from or received her master's degree in counseling psychology from the University Humboldt State University. So, and she's planning on coming back to work and serve in this area. And we were looking forward her to coming home. She's been gone for 4 years already. And then my son Nico just last week completed his studies through the Learning Center, and will be he met his graduation requirements and will be graduating this year. And with that, I want to thank the Learning Center staffs at all the centers, especially Mrs. Rondeau at Hilltop Learning Center, who worked with my son Nico at Hilltop. Because of her and the staff's dedication, he has successfully completed his high school graduation requirements and will be graduating this year, a very big deal in our family. Because Nico is like many other students in our learning centers who learn differently than the traditional classroom settings. I can only imagine how crushed students, parents, and educators are knowing that the learning centers will no longer exist and possibly extinguish their hopes of their students to graduate. I have been asking for this item, learning centers, to be brought to an open session so that we may discuss it. That hasn't happened because this is, in my opinion, this is a programmatic change that the board has not been able to weigh in on since the February 24th meeting, where it says multiple times by Dr. Janney and other assistant soups that this was just a preliminary or this is the first step, but apparently that was it. I am concerned that the 10th and 11th grade parents, what are they going to do? And my question is, what have we done to notify them that the learning center is going to be closed, and how are we going to ensure that they'll know where they're going to land next year with the school session ending in a week? I don't believe we were transparent in this, and that's coming from listening to I listened to the February 24th board meeting for about 5 hours again, over and over, just listening to everybody's comments. And I believe that conversation hasn't happened at the board level. And that's disappointing. So, like I said, my main question is, what are our plans to work with the students and parents at the learning centers now that they're closing? And then also, I was interviewed by 2 students at Bonita Vista High School, Martin Cepeda and Liliana Salazar. They interviewed me about their high school graduation and their lack, because of the COVID-19, that they're not having graduations right now. Hopefully, we're going to be able to get it together and get through the COVID and do that safely. But they interviewed me about my experience of graduation, which was, and I told them, well, it was a long time ago, but I try to give them as much as I could remember. But I did tell them that, it's very sad that, at least it's going to be delayed. And, the ceremony is a great, celebration. But to me, What really matters is the after parties with your tias and tios and all your family members and getting all the hugs and kisses, and they're going to have to wait for that. But hopefully that'll happen and they'll be able to experience that like we all have. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Segura. Mr. Solis, would you like to go?
Sure. Yeah, so had a CSBA delegate assembly on Saturday, May 16th. We had a review of the governor's budget, and then we also had a vote on the schools and communities first. And unfortunately, we took a no position vote on that. Many board members were worried about the financial situation with businesses and whatnot, but I voted for it. But the measure failed by 49% to 51%. I know us as a district, we're in favor of it, and we're going to continue being in favor of it because I think it's necessary. But unfortunately, CSBA, some of the members didn't see it that way. So that was unfortunate. But so that took the whole morning, and that was pretty much it. And also our CSBA Region 17 cohort is creating a letter to send to our federal legislators to advocate for additional federal funding, and we should be getting it this week. And as soon as I get it, I'll send it over to you, President Tarantino, and our Superintendent, Dr. Jenny, sign on, send it to legislators. And that's it.
Hey, thank you. Mr. Pine?
Yes, I just wanted to thank all the food distributors and the principals and vice principals and everybody that passed out over 1 million meals. That's absolutely incredible. That's got to be some sort of historic feat, especially during these times. And I'm very proud of those people taking the time out and risking acquiring it to give that food. And I'm sure it was important for all those families to get it. So I just wanted to spend some time and thank them. And also, again, I'm looking forward to Mr. Hines' future. I hope he does well, and kudos to him for getting the position. And that's all.
Okay, and I would like to thank the South County CABE Board, in particular Magda Maldonado and Bertha Lopez, for their continued support of our seniors. They had a virtual CABE conference, and at that conference, as they usually do, they awarded a number of $1,000 scholarships to students, and here are the students who are the 2019-2020 scholarship awards. Alexis Romo from San Ysidro High School, Pablo Farias from Hilltop High School, Christine Louise Magyaawi from Sweetwater High School, Cindy Gonzalez from Southwest High School, Angelica Monroy from Castle Park, Stephanie Aguilar from Chula Vista, Rick Riquezca Ann S. Fandino from Bonita Vista High School, Carla A. Padilla Leon from Olympian, Sophia Y. Yao from Otay Ranch, Michael Medina from Montgomery, and Christian Pada from Eastlake High School. Congratulations to all the scholarship winners. And again, much thanks to the South County CABE Board for their continued support for our seniors. And that's all I have. Mrs. Hall.
Thank you. Thank you, President Tarantino. I'm just really thrilled for Mr. Hines that he gets to go on to greater things, because he's a success story for our school district. And I know how important athletics, the part athletics plays in our young people development. So what I would like to first is have my asks out first, because I want to make sure that I do it clearly. I also am I echo Board Member Segura's request to have a open conversation in our regular meeting on the learning centers. I was hoping that we'd have it before I sent the request more than once. I asked for it, I believe, in an open meeting before, but I've also sent several requests. The latest one was just this past week to President Tarantino and Dr. Janney, that they would have this as a public item for discussion before we pass our budget. Because overall, the students average, one of the schools at San Ysidro, they average around 125 kids in their enrollment. In Sweetwater, this is just one learning center. Sweetwater has average of about 131. Mar Vista has about 112 or more average. Castle Park has around 113 average. Those are all some of our highest need schools. And yet, and the parents I heard from parents not only from those schools, but from schools on the other side of the district as well, Bonita Vista, Olympian, Eastlake. They are really not, they are certain their students will not succeed in an independent study program. And yet we haven't had any discussion on that. Also, the fact that over the years, learning centers have had a successful graduation rate above other programs. So we're getting kids out, we're serving them high need kids that are in the most vulnerable areas, and they're having success, and they're obviously contributing to our district's rate of high school graduates. So I think it's been disingenuous not to have this conversation before, and not to have them listen to really understand what the costs are, because I've been told by parents they won't have their kids in our district if they shutter the learning centers. So that's one request. My other request I've also sent in writing, so I want to make sure it is attended to. And I've asked for it in public meetings. I asked for it in our last public meeting. I've sent several emails to the superintendent to have the detailed project plan on the conversion to the N4 from David Delicazada and Dr. Sawkild, where they lay out the milestones, the expectations, the milestones, the dates for certain milestones to be reached, including their full implementation plan and all district staff training when they project that will happen and how that will happen and what the costs are involved. And I would like that, because I don't know how we can be expected to keep our eye on what's going on if we don't have that information. It's key. It's I think I think not doing so, we're not doing our our role as a board member. So I would ask for those two things. And the last thing I was going to report on some of the things that I've done over the last couple weeks. And first, I've attended two collaborative meetings, two different groups for the Imperial Beach area. One is the Imperial Beach Mayor's COVID Task Force on Rapid Response. I've been to two of those meetings, and also the IB Collaborative, which meets, I don't know, every week or every other week. So I've been to that one, and they're doing some good things to help feed our community, especially those families that are sheltered in or have lost jobs. They're compiling all the resources from those different areas and they do food distributions. They also do, they connect people with different emergency services and do a coordination of volunteers here in the area. But they also reach out to our schools. And so I share all the information about what our schools are doing, the different, the meal distribution that happens. The closest one we're doing to this area is Mar Vista Academy. So they have that information, and they're also doing some wellness checks and wellness, trying to uplift the spirits of people who might be struggling as they're sheltering in. And one of the things they were doing was a woman had gotten together, had been given I don't know how many, 3,000 pieces of sidewalk chalk. So the group was packaging up the sidewalk chalk with a little insert into a paper bag. So they're going to distribute that out through our area, across through Nestor and IB, to families with children, so the children can draw on hopeful messages on the sidewalk. So when there's people walking through the neighborhoods safely and social distancing with their masks on, they can read those messages and hopefully bring people's spirits up in that as well. And I wanted to give a shout out to Pastor John Atel, who is heading that group up for everyone, because he's been a real asset to the community. Also, I met with Mr. Solis, and I met with our auditors, Matt Nethaway and Kevin Smith. I forget what his last name is. He was the area. Matt Nethaway is the engagement partner, and Kevin Smith is the managing partner. He's headquartered out of Dallas. We discussed the audit and the pending results from that, and what they're telling us is that our management has gone through and done a lot of their own deep dive into the 2017-18 year, so that they've handed that work over to the auditors, so that the auditors are beginning to look at that information and go through the process of auditing that data as well. But they are still waiting on the AB 139 audit that will come from FCMAT through the County Office of Ed and be released to us after the County Office of Ed has a hearing on it, I suppose, it takes about 45 days from the time FCMAT releases that report to the county, and I would hope that within the next month or so we would have the results of that audit, because it's at that point, depending on the results and findings from that, how much more work our Crow auditors will need to perform in order to finalize the audit and issue an opinion on the 2018-19 audit that they were originally engaged with. And this is not unusual for something like this to happen when there's inquiries, especially as Dr. Sockel has explained on multiple times, when there's been allegations of fraud. So while it sounds like they've done an AB 139 audit, when we first heard about it, people were saying, oh, it's a forensic audit. And actually, it's not a forensic audit. It's only going to be measuring the 2017-18 year, and they're only looking at the borrowing, the timing of payroll entries, and the budget entries, where there were several, what they FCMAT had called out as 300 entries in negative entries to the budget. So while everyone in the community may have been hearing forensic audit, that's really not what this is going to do. It's not giving us a forensic. It's looking at one fiscal year behind our normal audit year, which is usually the year preceding where we are now. So as one year ends, you audit that previous year. So it's only going back one fiscal year. I just wanted to make that clear. It's not a deep dive, which is kind of disappointing in my opinion. The other thing I wanted to, I can't remember what else I was going to say, but I wanted to thank our auditors, because this is a great team. I think they have a really good perspective. We heard there is some other issues that we heard in our audit subcommittee meeting about from our internal auditors around our capital assets, and that they're not all capitalized assets, but they're in their inventory. And there was a large number of items seemingly that were unaccounted for when the RTI finished. The vendor that came through and scanned everything, they produce a list, and then we have a list that already exists of what is when it's received. But it is a large number, seemingly, but a lot of the things that are on that list, apparently, according to our internal auditors, were not aged out properly off the list. So some of those, about 19% of that total, of which is about $12 million, about 19% of that is about 16 to 20 years old. So a lot of those things may have already been out of use, but just not reconciled and entered properly in the system. So while there is ongoing work that the internal audit is doing to reconcile those items, and that Dr. Sock will be reporting on that eventually, I just wanted to get the word out that some of this are just a matter of reconciling and entering the system and probably accounting for it. And and the internal auditors are working on policies and procedures and standard operating procedures that will be put in place along, with across the district to make sure that we have a better control over that. So as we go forward, I think I just wanted to give I know Dr. Sockfield's doing a lot of work. She's leading this district into the 20th century with actually putting in really strong controls and checks and balances within our fiscal areas. But I think the internal auditors have really risen to the occasion to do extraordinary work, especially as they're social distancing along with everyone else. So I just wanted to give them kudos and thank them for their work. And with that, I will say I was also interviewed by the two students. It was really lovely to talk to them. And I just wanted to tell them the message I gave them to give to all the other seniors was that I'm really respect and honor what they're doing. I'm so proud of them because they all have done something to keep not only their families and themselves safe, but our city and our state, our country, and our world. And it's really historic. And I think they should be proud of themselves. So thank you very much.
Ethan, do you have any comments?
At the moment, no, but thank you.
Okay. All right. We will go ahead and move on to item F6, which is approve the submission of application of Strengthening Career and Technical Education for the 21st Century Act, previously known as the Secondary Carl D. Perkins Career and Technical Education Improvement Act, Section 131 for the 2020-2021 school year, and that was pulled by Mr. Segura. Go ahead, Nick.
Yes, thank you, President Tarantino. Yep. So my questions on both F6 and F7 are only, I just kind of wanted to know what career pathways we're talking about here for the CTEs.
Yeah, Mr. Tarantino. So Dr. Fulcher will respond to the adult school grant, and then Dr. Alvarez will respond to the 712.
Okay, Dr. Alvarez, you want to go ahead and respond to F6?
Sure. Good evening, Mr. Tarantino, Dr. Gianni, and board members. I almost changed your name. Sorry about that.
That's okay. I've been called a lot worse.
I was making it plural. Sorry about that. So with the 712 grant, we actually support all 59 of our high school programs with materials and supplies. And so it includes all Microsoft Office licenses, the Project Lead the Way participation fees at the high school and middle school, our Autodesk licenses, our CPR certification, our food handler certification, specialized equipment and consumables for all of our programs. Additionally, because there are so many changes within the 712 program in CTE, we pay for curriculum development. And so that includes updating our course outlines, providing teacher externship opportunities. We also include opportunities for our students to become involved in what's called the Career Technical Student Organizations, and those are leadership roles within CTE classes. And additionally, we pay for transportation to attend work-based learning opportunities for both students and staff, and then for conferences and professional development for our teachers. In particular to one of the programs, we also pay for a scripts contract that supports not only our nutrition classes, but our camp scripts, our mentoring program, health professional overview, someone who actually reviews all of our course outlines, our surgery review and viewing, and our school-based clinics that are afforded through the CTE process and programs.
Okay. Any follow-up question, Mr. Segura, for Dr. Alvarez?
Nope, that's what I needed to know. Thank you.
Okay. And without objection, I'd like to bundle then F6 and F7 since they both deal with the same grant but in different departments. Is there any objection to bundling F6 and F7?
Well, do they have different answers?
I don't know. Well, okay.
Mr. Segura pulled both of them.
Yeah.
So wasn't Dr. Fulcher going to?
Yeah, Dr. Fulcher was going to address the adult school one.
Yeah.
Right, but that's F7. That's why I want to bundle them. Okay, we'll take them one at a time.
Thank you.
Is there a motion to approve F6?
So moved.
I'll second.
Moved by Segura, seconded by Hall. Madam Clerk, will you call for the vote?
Collier,
Yes.
Hall,
Yes.
Solis,
Yes.
Pike, Mr. Pike,
Yes, sorry, I was muted.
that's okay. Segura,
Yes.
Tarantino,
Yes.
motion passes 5-0.
Okay, we move on to F7, which is the submission of the application for the same grant, only it applies to the adult school. And Dr. Fulcher, would you answer Mr. Segura's question?
Sure, I'd be happy.
Or would you like it? Would you like it repeated?
No, I
Okay.
think I remember.
Okay.
First of all of our CTE programs in the adult ed division have been impacted in some way by the Perkins grant funds. We focused on a number of pathways, and I'll mention the 7 in just a second. But what's important to know is these 7 were identified based on the labor market in the South Bay community, those that are in high demand. And so that's where our focus for this grant will typically fall. In the past, we've used Perkins funding to provide access to things like digital curriculum and supplies, equipment, books, and even to some extent furniture. We're currently, and this is where we get into the use of the money or the funds now, we're currently creating 2 medical labs in the San Ysidro and National City adult schools. And as most of you know, because you passed this item some months ago, we have a district physician who will be supporting and helping with those medical labs that we'll be creating. This is new to our area, and certainly we think it's going to lead to a number of job opportunities for our adults. So the 7 pathways that we're focusing on, I just mentioned one, the medical pathway, and we're focusing on certified nursing assistant, medical assistants, as well as medical billing. That's number 1. The second area is computer and IT supports, and that's around computer applications, as well as professional administrative work that could be hopefully achieved at some point by our adult students. The culinary arts will continue to be a focus for our program and our division. and we're looking at pastry and cafeteria assistants. So the hope is that some of those students can at some point be eligible for a position in our district and have some advanced knowledge and training, not just to work in our district, but to work in a number of other places as well. You heard about the next pathway, which is working with drones. We're one of two programs, certainly in the state and maybe even across the region, that has a program or a pathway for working with drone technology. We're going to continue to provide support and services in security officer training. That's been certainly one of our popular ones in the past, and we're going to continue with that support. One that may be interesting to you, Mr. Segura, is our building and construction pathway. So we have a building maintenance and repair that's being focused on, as well as roofers, waterproofers, and apprentice programs for both. And then the last is our manufacturing pathway, and primarily focusing on welding. And I think you've seen some of our programs at Castle Park and Sweetwater High. So those are the 7 pathways that we'll be focusing on. A couple of new ones and some that'll be continuing.
Thank you, Mr. Tarantino. And Dr. Fulcher, that answers my question, and I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
I'll second. Go ahead. Okay. Moved by Segura, seconded by Solis. Madam Clerk, will you call for the vote?
Collier,
Yes.
Hall,
Paul, you're muted.
Yes.
Solis,
Yes.
Pike,
Yes.
Segura,
Yes.
Tarantino.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Okay, next item is item F8, which is to approve the revised list of fundraisers/expenditures for ASB organizations. And that was pulled by Mrs. Hall and myself.
Go ahead, Mr. Tarantino.
Okay, I just had one question in the expanded list, and it probably will go to General Counsel Carbuccia. On page 2 of 4, under other, and it talks about advertising, which must be approved by the district's legal department. There's the first bullet statement, marquee messages. That is shout outs, announcer messages, and song requests. I have a question about song requests. What exactly does that mean?
Sure. So as you'll see, we've started to try to expand on this list to where you have things under each of the bullets. So when it originally said advertising was approved by the district legal, that really was based on board policy 1325, which talks about advertising and not wanting to open a public forum and ensuring that things weren't, discriminatory and that things were done in a fair way. And so at that time, working with finance, I was designated as the person to see that. This year, as part of listening to the ASB APs, they've asked for some flexibility to be able to do shout outs over the microphone and also song requests. And so those wouldn't be on the marquee as much. Those would be, the sound system. And when in the morning, the ASB AP does a message, they pick a song and they may play it, and they may play it as a shout out to someone. So it really is an ASB AP controlled issue, but it still is it's still a form of advertising. And so I think we were trying to figure out where we could group things. So I think that's one that's absolutely determined. The ASB AP is going to look at that shout out and decide whether it's appropriate or whether the song that was picked is an appropriate song.
Okay.
And I think that's the bigger piece. That advertising, and as to marquees in particular, came because 1325 talks about advertising on billboards, and billboards, marquees are the new billboards of the 21st century, I guess.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Carbuccia. That helps. That absolutely helps, because I couldn't understand what a song request would be doing on a marquee. But anyway, that I can understand where, some of the songs would not be appropriate in terms of their lyrics or their title or whatever. So thank you for that clarification. Mrs. Hall.
Oh, so that's a good point. I wonder if there's, thank you, Mr. Tarantino. I wonder if there is any kind of free speech that goes on. We don't want anybody opening up for a free speech thing. So, but I'm not talking to it about that. I'm calling attention to also on page 2 of 4, where it's noted in yellow, the athletic coach clinics have been they're requesting to add athletic coach clinics as an allowable expenditure. My question to our at the audit subcommittee meeting, because we review these before they come to the board, and the majority of the subcommittee felt that we should, they recommended acceptance of this, of the amendments. But my question was around athletic coach clinics. I don't know if you remember back to when we had the presentation by the gentleman from FCMAT who had presented for several years to all the ASBs every year on good practice and what is allowable and what is not allowable, etc. He always spoke about ASB funds are for the students, they're not for adults. He kept repeating that, and he presented not only to our audit subcommittee on several occasions, but also to the Board of Trustees at least once, if not twice. But he kept emphasizing. So that's my question, because I am a little bit concerned about having athletic coach clinics. One of our audit subcommittee members, Mr. Dan Gutowski, has been a coach, and I believe Mr. Torres as well. And they both spoke in favor of doing that because athletic coaches don't have much, sometimes they need as much training as possible. The problem with me is using ASB student funds for adults. And I know General Counsel Carbucha has her hand raised because apparently I know that Dr. Stockdale said that they had, or perhaps it was one of our internal auditors did say that this was reviewed by the General Counsel before it was brought to our audit subcommittee. So if she wants to weigh in on that, I would appreciate it.
Sure, and it's actually a conversation that the internal auditors and I have had with Mr. Ammerman. Mr. Ammerman says that it's so long as it is an expressly designated and delegated cost, that it is one that is allowable with ASB funds. So from a Title IX perspective, one of the major things that we look at is whether coaches are competent and qualified to perform a service. And from that perspective, we really felt that the ability of a coach to be trained is a skill that comes and becomes immediately transferable to the students. So we don't have the ability to send 20 kids to a clinic, but we can train the coach, and that coach comes back with new skills that they can share with those students. And so if the students felt that that was something that was important, we felt that that was an important skill for them to be able to have. This was a request that came from the ASB APs. And we felt that from that, so long as students took action on it, it was an appropriate cost that directly did benefit them.
And that's key, right? The key is that the ASB budgets it at the beginning of the year, that they agree to it, that it's in their budget, and they pass it, and then it's monitored and addressed and fully receipted with all the proper receipts. So I think that's the key part of it as well. So I just wanted to let you know, I still have concerns about it, but the majority of the audit subcommittee did support it. So thank you, Ms. Carbucha.
Of course.
Okay, if there's no further discussion, then I will entertain a motion to approve the revised list of fundraisers and expenditures for ASB organizations.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Moved by Pike, seconded by Solis. Madam Clerk, will you call for the vote?
Collier,
Yes.
Hall,
I really have a tough time with that last one because I think it can get out of hand. So I'm going to vote no.
Solis,
Yes.
Pike, Mr. Pike,
Yes.
Segura,
Yes.
Tarantino.
Yes.
Motion passes 4 yes, 1 no.
Okay. Next item on the agenda is item F9, a 3-year agreement with SoftChoice Corporation for the purchase of Microsoft software, volume licenses, and authorizes the superintendent and/or designee to sign all related documents. And that was pulled by the public, Mrs. Hall, and Mr. Segura. So is there any public speakers, Madam Clerk?
Yes, I have comments from one speaker. These
Okay.
are from Chandra Goodnow.
Okay.
Good evening, board. I am writing on behalf of the students of the Sweetwater District in regard to LCAP 4 and agenda item F9. As someone who cares very deeply about this district and the people in it, I urge you to consider the intent of LCAP 4. The idea of transparent and coherent systems to me implies educating your stakeholders before a decision is to be made about the pros and cons of purchases. You have a vote tonight regarding spending $1.5 million over 3 years on Microsoft tools while we are simultaneously laying off teachers. Why are we considering a 3-year contract without having a conversation about what the other platforms offer that we buy? Posting the terms of a contract is not the same as having coherent and transparent systems. I love choice and the freedom to make it, but I think right now we need to value people over product. It appears we pay for 3 different systems, a Google domain, a Microsoft suite, and Canvas. We also have 3 grading systems, none of which are free. This means when we do professional development, we have to cover all of these systems, which costs us more time and money. I do not expect the board to choose one platform for us, but I do expect the stakeholders to know the costs and benefits of each system so we can make more informed decisions as a whole and agree together to simplify the number of systems purchased in this time of fiscal need. At the last board meeting, you voted to spend $112,000 on a technology ticketing system and approximately $48,000 on Hanover research. At the same time, we are laying off staff. With every vote, I fear the loss of a colleague. It appears there is a disconnect between valuing people and product, but I do not believe that is your intent. It is possible that we need these systems moving forward, but as a stakeholder, that has not been made clear to me. I truly believe LCAP 4 is our way out of this turbulent period. I have faith in that, but we can do a better job at meeting this goal. We need discussions and input from multiple viewpoints, and we simply are not there. Teachers and district staff want to help, and we are better together, but lack of information prior to these votes shuts people down. It makes it appear that we are not coordinated in our efforts. Please require us to do better in the future. In fact, start now by delaying the vote and having a conversation with your stakeholders. I appreciate you being here and for giving us a voice. There are no further comments.
Okay, Mr. Segura, would you like to go?
Sure. So I was hoping that we were going to get some sort of presentation on it because we do spend, and I know IT support is very expensive, but I do recall that Trustee Hall asking for like an overall picture of, or overall, maybe not picture, but overall document that had all the stuff that we were going to need and what we were going to spend it on. It just seems that we keep getting these things, onesies. And then I kind of want to know who were the teachers involved in being surveyed and the students surveyed in terms of what we of this platform. And I don't really have an opinion on which platform we use. I just want to know how we got here to this point. Because I think it's important that the stakeholders and give their input, just like what was said. $500,000 a year is quite a lot of money. And if we do have to move forward with this, and I'm sorry, let me back up. I want to know when this, I guess I could open it up on my computer, but I would lose this picture. I wanted to be reminded of when It says right here, the term of the agreement is from June 1st. Does that mean that our current one expires in May 31st of this year? And if so, why did we wait so long to bring this to the board and have a discussion on it? And then see, what else did I have? When I did some research and I saw that some other feeder districts use Google, and I got a lot of emails, like I'm sure the board did, you know, that there's a lot of Google products that are free, Google Classroom and that sort of thing. And I know some of our feeder districts use Google, some of them use Microsoft, like we are. So that's kind of where I'm coming from. I just want to know how we got to here, and who was you know, surveyed. Was it just a committee? Because I don't think that's good enough. I think we need to have full involvement with our stakeholders on something like this, with the educators and students even, what they prefer. And I know I received some data, as well as the other board members from Sweetwater High School that surveyed the parents, and that was quite interesting. So that's be something I would hope that happened. So that's where I'm at. Thank you.
Mr. Tarantino,
Yes.
Mr. Della Casada will talk about the historical perspective, how we got here, and why this is coming forward.
Okay. David, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
Tarantino, Board of Trustees, Superintendent Janney. Thank you for those questions. Those are very good questions. One of the things that I will explain is that basically when you start comparing this license to, let's say, a Google or even a Canvas or even Infinite Campus, those are application systems. This is basically part of our infrastructure. This is part of our student education support system. And so what I'd like to do is just briefly go over the particular licensing for the soft choice contract and then address any specific questions that you may have. But the software contract provides us with needed licenses to run the system's infrastructure. This includes all devices connected directly or indirectly to our network, all servers operating business and educational applications, email services, voice message services, and all SQL Server databases being used for information storage. All major system server components used at Scale Matrix, our student education support systems, operate daily via these licenses. The M365A license that's being provided through this contract includes the following features and functionality. And again, I'm going to provide you with an overview of that, not go into the details which may get lost. Office 365 applications such as Outlook, Excel, Word, PowerPoint, OneNote are accessible to staff via this license. In addition, this licensing also allows all staff and students to use these applications on personal computers at no cost. Audio conferencing via MS Teams is also provided. It will allow licensed participants, to include students, to partake in video conferencing and phone calls through an MS Teams session. It also provides us with the ability to implement a cloud-based phone system, which is the next step in providing the necessary phone, voice, infrastructure, and architecture to support distance learning. Security is another major aspect of this licensing, which isn't readily evident based on the contract and the terms that's used or the nomenclature that's used. The licensing includes endpoint device security and advanced threat protection filtering. This security will allow us to replace Bitdefender, which is our endpoint malware detector on all devices that are used by teachers and students and staff. Our current endpoint security product costs $82,500 per year. That will be saved as a result of going with these A5 licenses. This also provides the necessary security we need in Azure Active Directory to move our mail services online via the Azure Cloud Network. What that actually means is it's preparing us putting together the infrastructure that will allow us to move to a cloud-based system, where most companies, 82% of them, are going towards. Other features provided by this bundled licensing, and I emphasize bundled licensing because that's where we're getting our cost savings. Other features include school data sync, which allows us to synchronize classroom rosters with data from our student information system, Infinite Campus, and port them to MS Teams rosters. Another feature is Intune, which is our mobile device manager that addresses both our Windows and Mac platforms. This feature allows us to remotely update and manage student devices without having to collect them each year, and that's why we're progressing towards that this summer. The purchase also provides licensing for all servers operating at scale matrix. We have approximately 175 servers, virtual servers in production, with an anticipated expansion of 45 application servers over the next 3 years. That's 15 per year. We've included that in this cost. The Microsoft Core CAL licenses are used for Windows Server, Exchange Server, which is our mail systems, System Management Server, and SharePoint Portal Server, which is part of our intranet. The A1 licenses included in this purchase also are for light users, staff members that minimally access online applications and services, such as custodians, gardeners, and bus drivers. The SQL Server Enterprise licenses allow us to operate all core business systems that utilize SQL Server. This includes our Lawson HR systems, our Infinite Campus Student Information System, our maintenance and planning applications, microfiche systems, and test and sandbox systems, our development systems using SQL Server. In summary, these licenses are required to operate necessary infrastructure systems that support our students, teachers, and staff. The comparisons, again, related to the application is just the outermost requirements for the system. This deals with our infrastructure, our core. None of those applications on the outside, these peripheral applications, will operate without these core licenses as part of our infrastructure.
Follow-up question?
Okay, it's my turn.
Well, I don't know. Mr. Segura, do you have a follow-up question?
Yes, Mr. Segura.
So I appreciate all that information. So you never answered my question of why we does our current contract expire at the end of May, and then why did it get brought to us so late in the year?
Yes,
and I understand all the needs in there, and I'm just asking. Like I said, I don't really mind what system we use, and I know some school districts use Gmail. So if you're using Gmail, would you still have to have this program? And I'm sure they all have costs, but I'm just wondering how we get there, and if we're getting the best bang for our buck, or are we just going with what we know and spending money, without comparing? That's what I like to know is, are we spending money without comparing other services, or this is the path we're on and we have to stick to it? That's kind of where I'm at.
Yes, sir. Thank you for reiterating those questions. Yes, the license expires at the end of May. It needs to be renewed by June 1. And again, these are infrastructure or components, internal components that require the licensing. Comparisons to Google, we do use Gmail. Gmail is being used by our students. It's not the issue of comparing and selecting one. One of the things that was indicated in the comments that were made by the audience is that we do provide flexibility regarding options. Certainly multiple systems that do the same thing is very costly, and that's been clearly identified. And so one of the things that we need to do as a organization is to prioritize and identify those duplications and remove them. Okay, comparing this core system to others, the Google applications, the Infinite Campus comparison. They are not part of the infrastructure. You can't make that comparison. These products run on this infrastructure. And so we are a Microsoft Cisco shop. There are replacements. Certainly, if I could make this analogy, if we were going to change our Cisco infrastructure, there are more cost-effective products out there like Juniper systems and their firewalls and their network equipment. However, the conversion from one to the other would be very costly for us. So our core operating system, what we do business with, is basically Microsoft and Cisco. Why this was late, Mr. Segura, I have no appropriate answer at this time. We could have certainly provided a presentation, but again, we're comparing apples and oranges. The observations that are being made by people that are viewing this are looking at it from an ancillary or application perspective, not a core system. And so there are no other core systems that we can convert to without expending millions of dollars. And that's why we implemented the student education support system at Scale Matrix. That is our core system. Besides the virtualization, Microsoft and Cisco is our core infrastructure. Everything else rides on top of that.
That's all I have, President Tarantino.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Segura. Mrs. Hall.
Thank you, President Tarantino, and thank you, Mr. Delicazada, for your explanation. I think what you're talking about is we're comparing apples to oranges. What a teacher or a counselor or a student might use to do meets or classroom meetings is not necessarily limited to what's in this document. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
It isn't just about Microsoft Teams. I mean, I think that's where we latched on partly because Microsoft Teams is not maybe necessarily as comprehensive a tool to use. I mean, I personally prefer Zoom to any of these other ones because you can really see everybody. You can control different functionalities. You can have breakout rooms and there is a way to secure it to where everybody isn't bombing you. Like that was a big fear. So I understand where other teachers may, and they pointed out in several of the emails I received, other board members did too, several different platforms that they utilize in their learning. I know that a lot of teachers use Jupyter Grades. They've been on there. They've been on Canvas for years. I don't have a grasp of what all these mean. And I hear Mr. Segura's point. Over the last few months, we've gotten one board document after another board item, after another, millions of dollars it all adds up to, because it's not coming to us in a comprehensive plan with everything kind of laid out where we can discuss it. We have it as a presentation. This is our whole structure, our whole plan, and we'll go out and we can, as board members, I'll tell you truthfully, when people see these things, there's experts in our community that deal with this stuff that are not in a school system, but they are in the industry in various ways, and they'll contact us and say, you know what, this is really what you're looking at here. They'll provide some insight because obviously each of us board members have no expertise. I'm not an IT person. I wouldn't weigh in on this, but I know people that I could ask. So that's kind of what I do as in my due diligence. What I want to hear from you is what is the comprehensive plan and how many more items are you going to be bringing for us to approve? Because it is an expensive, what you oversee goes without saying that is something the district must have, and it is a high cost to the district. If there's one other thing besides salaries that we spend our money in, it's the functionality of our informational technology, our integrated technology systems. I just want to understand, what's your plan? How much is it going to cost us? Is every piece already, I mean, are you going to bring another piece next time that's going to spend some more money? I personally voted against some of these other things, like was mentioned by one of our board, by the public, about Hanover. To me, that was not that's not a necessity when we are laying off staff. Those kinds of things. So what is not, I hear that this is infrastructure, this is a necessity. Is it going to limit us so we can't allow our teachers and staff members to utilize other platforms for their classroom activities?
Yes, it will. As I was trying to articulate, basically this is a core system, so those applications run on top of that. Some of the basic necessities of just basically network connection and security, basic filtering that people take for granted that's running in the background, access to email, web filtering, email filtering, students, their traffic being routed back to our network and basically analyzed to make sure they're protected. Those items basically are part of this core structure. This is not a new implementation. These items that are coming to you, again, you'll be getting a couple more. These are annual renewals. These are renewals based on plans that we've already implemented back in 2016, 2017. Certainly, we can provide a comprehensive review of our current structure and our technology roadmap going forward. Certainly, we can do that. However, these items aren't new. They're part of our 3-year.
Okay. Excuse me. I have to stop you. I get that part. I heard what you said about the infrastructure. What I wanted to know is the teachers emailed us about a few things that they really found helpful, and what they didn't find helpful. And at least I printed out several of the emails, but I only have one in front of me right now.
Yeah.
One of the things they said was Schmoop they don't really need. Is Schmoop something that we have to have? Is it integrated in this, or is it?
It's an application. That's an educational.
Well, okay. Applications. Which applications are no longer going to be allowed when we continue with this Microsoft? And it sounds like, are we expanding anything with this?
Okay, 2 questions, and I'll answer those. In terms of applications, again, it's like your computer. You have an operating system that runs on that computer. You have to have that operating system before you can add applications to it, whether it's Word, whether it's Excel, whether it's a browser to access something. Okay, this again is core infrastructure. When you're comparing it to Schmoop, that's basically an application.
I'm not comparing it to Schmoop. What I was asking you, I get that this is your basic infrastructure. What I want to know is what applications will no longer be allowed that our teachers and staff are utilizing currently.
It's not going to prevent them from utilizing anything. It's not going to eliminate anything.
Okay. So they'll be able to use some of the, like Google Teams and all that, Google Meets?
They will continue to be able to use that, ma'am, yes. What's being placed specifically is basically endpoint security. We basically, with the enhancement of the licenses, we are now going to eliminate 82,500 of Bitdefender, which will be replaced by Microsoft's Advanced Threat Protection. So basically, that's 82,500 that'll be eliminated from the cost that you will not see in the next couple of months when it's up for renewal in 2 months. So
was that an annual cost over how many, 3 years?
That's 82.5 annually. So if you're looking at it for 3 years, it's going to be $247,000 over the same 3-year period. And then again,
but this is 500,000, and we were already paying something for a Microsoft platform already, and this is just renewing it or changing it totally.
No, we're not changing it totally. It's basically a renewal. So a lot of the features that I was explaining earlier was part of the renewal for this particular contract.
So what was it costing us before? Was it 500,000 a year previously?
No, it was not. No, it was not. It was basically, if you're looking at it, $300 and some thousand. I can get the exact figures for you on that.
So it was around 300K, and now we're paying 500 and saving 82.5. So it is a little increase, probably a net increase of about 25,000, maybe. Wait, 125,000. I can't do math in my head. I need a calculator.
That's approximately correct. Yes.
So what is that, inflation, or is it because you've just really enhanced the whole contract?
We enhance the contract to accommodate all teachers, staff to use the A5 licenses. In order for us to eliminate the security piece of it, we had to have everybody underneath that licensing. So that's 4,500 licenses that we had purchased.
So what did we use before? If we're just now including all teachers in that, what were they just out there by themselves, not having any security?
No, there was a basic licensing that was applied to teachers. They've been increased from an A1 license to an A5. And that's basically all teachers, staff, and administrators.
And is that normal for districts to have that high of a security on their infrastructure?
It is not. It's not a Cadillac version. It's not a Wish. It's needed. It's
all right. Okay. Thank you for that. I appreciate your questions. I do appreciate what you're doing. I mean, I know it's been a long haul. Some things have been put on hold, but I would really like to say that I want to see a whole plan, not for everything. What is your whole plan? What's your whole infrastructure? What is coming down the road that we need to be aware of, so we can start looking at it and not just get it and take it and rubber stamp. Not that I don't believe you. I do believe you. I want you to understand that. I believe you. But I think it's our own responsibility to do our due diligence, and also for us to educate those along the way so that we can hear from them and they can understand it better. But I appreciate everything you've said. So thank you.
No, thank you. And we will work on a plan so we can start explaining the components of that technology roadmap. Thank you for your question.
Well, I would hope you had a plan that you could.
I do. I would love to share it with you. And we're going to start off first with the Infor financials that you've talked about. And we are putting together the components there, and so that we can provide you with the information you need so you can oversee that particular project.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
David, I have a question. Was there any benefit for going with the 3-year contract as opposed to a 1-year contract in terms of savings?
Yes, it was. Basically, we got the biggest bang for the buck for the 3, and I can give you the exact figures on that. We got quotations for a 1-year, a 3-year, and a 5-year.
Okay.
Okay.
No, I just wanted to know if there was a cost savings for going for a 3-year as opposed to a 1-year, and that's all I needed to know, David. You don't need to give me the specifics. So, any other questions? If not, I will entertain a motion. Yes, go ahead, Nick.
I try to use my hand up, but.
I'm still looking. I'm looking at all these different things. So if I miss you, just go ahead and jump in.
Okay. Yeah. So I appreciate Mr. De La Quesada's explanation and of all that's involved here. I definitely learned a lot. I'm sure, as well as the community, and this is how it's supposed to happen. I mean, we get something like this, we ask questions, and it gets explained, and we vote our conscience. And but I'd be interested in seeing that technology roadmap and going from there. And so you can't tell us. My question was going to be, what are we saving for 3 years versus, a 1-year deal is kind of what I wanted to know. I think that's important. And if that was explained in the document, I missed it, but I think, that's important information.
No, it wasn't explained, and for future, I will certainly include that. But basically, just our approach to technology. We usually, 3 years is probably the consistent or conservative approach because it doesn't lock us into a long-term contract like a 5-year would. And basically, a 3-year provides us with cost savings and as approach annual. I would say we saved anywhere from 25 to 35% of annualized cost for that. And again, I will include those on future technology purchases regarding the savings.
Okay, yeah, I know it went up. Everything goes up. Things cost more every year, so I understand that. But yeah, that's just something I think that would have been good to know. I had one other question, but it slipped my mind. Yeah, it slipped my mind and I didn't write it down. Thank you.
No, thank you. And if you remember the question, please don't hesitate to send it, and I'll respond to it accordingly. Thank you for your questions.
Okay, I will entertain a motion to approve a 3-year agreement with SoftChoice Corporation for the purchase of Microsoft software, volume licenses, and authorize superintendent and/or designee to sign all related documents.
So moved.
I'll second.
Moved by Solis, seconded by Pike. Madam Clerk, will you call for the vote?
Collier,
I'll abstain.
Hall,
Yes.
Solis,
Yes.
Pike,
Yes, and David, please give us a little bit more heads up notice next time. That would be great. I think that's what we're all looking for. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Segura,
With all the information provided, yes.
Tarantino,
Yes.
motion passes 5-0.
Okay, we've been at it for about 2 hours. How about we take a 10-minute break? Is everyone okay with that? Okay, yep. We will resume at about 10 minutes to 9. memorandum of understanding between the Sweetwater Union High School District and the City of Imperial Beach Sheriff's Department for the School Resource Officer Services for the 1920 school year. And that was pulled by the public and Mrs. Hall.
Is now joining.
Yes, I have comments from Kathleen Cheers.
Okay.
She says, I would like to reference an article in a April 21st, 2020 newspaper article in the Patch of Imperial Beach referencing this expenditure. The article alerted taxpayers in IB of the potential need to raise taxes due to the failure of Sweetwater to pay for SROs. If it pleases the board, I would respectfully request clarification on this issue. Thank you. There are no further comments.
Okay. Mrs. Hall, do you want to go ahead, or do you want me to ask the question about clarification in that article first?
Really?
Hello?
No, I think that article was referring to our district not paying this bill. If you notice, this MOU is paying for the current year, right? It's not for next year or next whatever. What I believe was there was also an article online in the Union Tribune about comments made at a Imperial Beach City Council meeting where because this hadn't been settled yet, the city manager was addressing his city council and I believe was saying that they had not received a payment. What my concern is with this item, and I thankfully that we're paying the bill, is comments made at the agenda review by this Dr. Janney, where she said that we wouldn't be utilizing this service going forward. We wouldn't have a community service officer from the Imperial Beach going forward. I don't know about that. I don't know if that's set in stone. But they were going to follow the similar model that there's schools that are in the San Diego City Police Department's area of service, which would be Montgomery, the Montgomerys, the San Ysidros, and I believe probably the Southwests, those schools where we don't have community service officers. So it's whoever gets the call first gets there. That is not the model that I believe we were working with when we presented to our parents in these different community safety meetings that we'd had with Chula Vista on the west side and on the east side of Chula Vista. And we had one down at Mar Vista High, which was for the cluster down here in the area that would encompass San Ysidro and all that. We were presented the model about how community service officers and their service to our schools, building the relationships, really helped keep students safe on campus. It helped them to look at law enforcement in a different way because of the relationships that were built. So I believe in that, and I believe in ensuring that we keep some of that going. My concern is also, I'm not sure that I know about, this doesn't address future, but those questions I have about what's the plan for the future. Also, have we modified any of the MOUs with National City Police Department or Chula Vista Police Department regarding future years? Those are my questions.
Okay. Dr. Janney, who's going to answer those questions?
So Dr. Fulcher's team reviews those MOUs with our law enforcement partners, so he'll take it from here.
Okay, thank you. Dr. Fulcher.
Thank you. A lot of questions, a lot of information to share. Yes, Mrs. Hall, we'll address yours first, and then I'll double back around to Mrs. Cheers. We have had preliminary conversations with the city manager and IB about next year. They're very preliminary, and they have included the possibility of adopting a San Diego PD model, one that you referenced earlier, and with regards to support for Montgomery High and Montgomery Middle. So that is a possibility. We have not discussed this with our community stakeholders yet, so I'm sure it's a bit of a surprise hearing it right now. The plan, however, is to reach out to the school, speak with the school staff, and first get their thoughts on that possibility. And it wasn't anything we proposed. It was reached during joint discussions with the IB city manager and his assistant. So again, it's on the table as a discussion point. We will talk further about it and certainly will alert the superintendent and the board as to how those conversations are going. With respect to the issue raised in the article, I don't get upset a lot, but the article, both in the UT and the IB press, was a complete misrepresentation of facts. I have to certainly thank and apologize Sonia Pico, and apologize to Sonia Pico's, John Jakowski, and John accompanied me on the last negotiated session with IB Sheriff, the city manager of IB, and Manny. They've done tremendous work supporting and collaborating with our law enforcement partners. That article, or those articles, misrepresented a lot of the district's position. First of all, this item has been budgeted for the past several years. There was never any statement made about not paying IB Sheriff or IB City. From the very beginning, we certainly had the funds to do that. But with negotiations, as everybody knows, there's compromise and there's give and take, which happened during this conversation. We were attempting to negotiate at last year's rates, which we did eventually get. The IB contract proportionally is a little higher than most of the others we have. We pay $5,000 less for our National City Partnership, and we get 2 officers. We pay significantly more. I think it's about $500,000 for Chula Vista. But of course, they have a larger span of schools to cover, and they provide for our SROs 1 agent and 1 sergeant. So yeah, the negotiations were intense, but we certainly wanted to make sure that we didn't offer more than we needed to based on the current standard of practice in the field. So we will be looking at all these relationships going forward, including IB Sheriff. And the hope is that we will continue the relationships in some way, shape, or form with all those agencies and partners.
Well, thank you, Dr. Fulcher. I did recognize that it was the same amount we've been paying. I noticed that they had included the total this time that they are charging, and it is the Sheriff's Department that really has rising costs. That's what we've experienced across many of our different community services here in IB. It's not really the city, it's more about the sheriff and what they're charging the city. So I would like to say that I have a special interest in this because I know that our school here in Mar Vista is unique in some respects. We're really close to the ocean. There's a lot of influences. I think having a service officer connected to our schools has proven to be a good model. It was proven to be a good model in Chula Vista. I would prefer it that we had the same model with San Diego PD, but apparently that's not possible yet. Maybe if we talk to Council Member Vivian Moreno, that could change. But I don't necessarily want to just give up on it. Yeah. So thank you.
Yeah,
I will make a motion to approve this item.
Okay.
Thank you.
Joe, excuse me, President Tarantino, can I speak to Mr. Fulcher, please?
Absolutely.
Okay, Joe.
Second, before it dies. Sorry about that.
Pardon me?
I'll second so it doesn't die.
Oh, okay. All right. Thank you. Go ahead, Kevin.
Number one, a community service officer has no police powers. They take reports. So if you're thinking that the community service officer is going to come in and take the same position as a police officer would in the circumstances at those schools, that will never happen. They'll have to either refer it to, they'll have to call in and say, no, we need a real police officer here, and then they're going to have to come. And I don't know what the Montgomery, I was always under the impression that they were calling the San Diego Police Department. They were responding with the local officer that has that particular beat. I don't think they have specialized officers anymore because they have, San Diego Unified has their own police department, school police. But we, Chula Vista, National City, and Imperial Beach have real resource officers. And the reason the sheriffs, Paula, are more expensive is because the sheriffs in general are more expensive. They're the highest paid police department right now.
Yeah.
But that can change. You know, as soon as their contracts are over, then everybody else starts negotiation again. But
right.
I would not be happy with having community service officers in any locations other than to take a report of a burglary at a car where there's no suspect info. That's normally what they did when
I thought that's what we had with Chula Vista and National City PDs with community service officers.
No, not at all. We have regular police officers. When they're not working in the schools, they can go and work at any police, anything that's happening in the city.
And I didn't talk, I mean, I don't know where San Diego Unified, because I'm not talking about them. I'm talking about at Montgomery High.
I know where you're talking about. At down South San Diego. Those are San Diego police, regular police officers.
Exactly.
Not community service officers.
We've had discussions about what those relationships are with those schools, because there's not the same kind of relationship.
No, there's not, because we're not paying them like we pay ours. These are our specific officers. They report to the schools. Those guys are on patrol, and when they get a chance, they go to the call. That's the difference. You're not paying for their services like you're paying for Chula Vista and Imperial Beach and National City.
Right. So we're paying for Chula Vista $500,000, and we're paying for National City. I get it. You can break it down but that's, again, we're paying for some schools to have some things, and then we would leave out some schools.
Yeah, we can't do that. But I don't know if San Diego PD. I don't know if San Diego PD will be willing to do a contract. That would be something that they'd have to look into. Right now, we don't have a contract with San Diego PD as far as having personal, and that's what they are, personal school SROs.
Correct.
So anyway, that's just my input.
No, I understand that.
So we've
also pointing out the fact that we're giving some things to some schools and not to other schools.
Right.
We've explored a potential relationship with San Diego PD. They are not interested. So what we've done, and John Chikowski has a tremendous database that we use and review on a monthly basis, and John is adding and taking away from that all the time. But we look at response time. We look at what type of supports have been requested from not just San Diego PD, but from all our law enforcement agencies. And we certainly recognize the difference between the SROs and the CSOs, and even our campus security officers, for that matter. And we want our students and our staff certainly supported by the best we have. San Diego PD has proven to be supportive and beneficial to that area. And we will continue talking with the IB city manager about our relationship with the sheriff department and their city going forward. So we'll certainly keep the board apprised of any movement. And it might be useful at some point to take a look at some of the data that John Chikowski has collected. I think you'd be surprised about the type of calls, a number of calls. What he can share, we can certainly provide in a Friday update, but I think it might be instructive and helpful.
Well, I think to the board, he should be able to share the same things he can share with you. We're the Board of Trustees. We have that position. So thank you.
So I'm not suggesting he can't share it. I'm saying I think it might be a good idea for us to put that in a Friday update to share.
Good idea, Joe.
Thank you very much.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor. Please, Madam Clerk, will you call for the vote?
Hall,
Yes.
Solis,
Yes.
Pike,
Yes.
Segura,
Yes. Yes.
Tarantino.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Okay, our next item is item K1, and that is to ratify the following for the month of April: the warrants and payment of salaries written on funds from the district, and also warrants and payment of invoices written from the funds of the district. And that was pulled by Mrs. Hall.
Yes. Thank you. I'm going to look at the attachment here really quick.
Okay.
I know Dr. Stockeld, I'm not going to ask a direct question. I'm just going to make a request. So this is another board member request. I think I've done it in the past, is that if you could break out hourly and monthly salaries on some of this information monthly, I would appreciate it, so we can track hourly salary costs throughout the year. I would appreciate it. Thank you.
Could I make a comment,
Sure.
Tarantino?
Yes,
So,
go ahead, Dr. Stocco.
on this particular item, and I think what we can do is provide supplemental documentation regarding payroll costs, because this is in accordance with Ed Code, that it's almost like a check register, providing the warrant range and then the dollar value. So that's a separate and apart component to what's required for the Ed Code. So we can provide, and almost in essence is what we get from PeopleSoft, is the data file that has what are the payroll costs in terms of, splitting out, because these are net checks. So these are the net checks we paid to our employees and the net checks we paid to our vendors. So we don't have that level of detail, and this is just supposed to be like a check register. So we can look into pulling some of that's basically the GL file from the county, and then that granularity, and we can see what's available there, kind of like a labor distribution.
Okay, that sounds good. Like, you've been really responding to a previous request I made to your monthly financial reports that you've been providing, where you basically are mimicking what we used to get back. It stopped coming to us around April of 2018, but ever since recently been sending out in a Friday update a monthly financial report that shows those cash flows, and it has a lot of graph that shows the cash flows for each fund and the borrowing and the repayments between funds. So if you could include it in those reports, that would be really great.
Yeah, we'll look into that, Trustee Hall, in terms of what we can extract from the data file and kind of provide a summary. But definitely those other monthly reports, I think, will be expanded once we get on the N4 platform. We'll have more robust reporting abilities for us to provide more information to the board and the public.
Well, that goes without saying. That's why I wanted to know about what's our plan and where are we at with that conversion. But in the meantime, have you done anything to try and provide that? I mean, have you looked into how you can extract some of that information? Is there separate payroll data for those types of salary payments, or do they all pay at the same time of the month? Is there different codes for an hourly payment versus a salary, a regular monthly salary payment? So if you have those different codes, it seems like you could pull that data and provide it at least quarterly.
And we will work with the team to see what we can pull and provide that to the board on the Friday update.
Thank you.
Okay, there's no more discussion. I will entertain a motion to accept item number K1.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
Okay, moved by Pike, seconded by Hall. Madam Clerk, will you call for the vote?
Hall,
Yes.
Solis,
Yes.
Pike,
Yes.
Segura,
Yes.
Tarantino.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Okay, the next item is item K4, which is a report on the quarterly financial disclosure statements for the Sweetwater Union High School District. And I pulled that item. And basically what I was interested in is on Exhibit A, the ASB totals. And under item F8, there was a statement on page 3 of 4, which deals with the excess fund balance spend down. And I was wondering if I don't know, maybe Dr. Sockhowl, is this your item? Explain how that works. So at what point does that spend down, if a fund exceeds 30% of the next year's total budgeted expenditures and reserves, at what point does that kick in order to spend down some of the totals that the ASBs are showing on this? And I understand that a lot of stuff is probably in the queue and hasn't been paid, like yearbooks and things like that. I don't know what other expenses occur at the end of the year due to graduation and stuff like that. But at what point does that 30% kick in?
So yes, Trustee Tarantino, I can address that question. So the report that's attached to this agenda item, that's just a snapshot of where the cash position is with the county treasury at that point. So that's kind of what they have in the bank.
Okay.
What the 30% spend down, we do that on an annual basis when we're closing the books during fiscal year end. So around the September timeframe, working with our accountant and then also with the schools, the ASB tax, and then also with internal audit. We review where every school ends with their fund balance, their respective fund balance. Then there's a calculation at looking at that amount, and then we set aside or we let them know, you're above that 30% threshold, then what is your plan? And that's kind of what we spent some time in the past year doing that with them, kind of looking at accumulation of what their balances are. So we actually brought that to the audit committee a few months ago. But they then take each individual ASB, takes that to their student council, and then they review. They decide how they're going to go about spending those dollars. And so, yes, we do have some in queue from the current year evaluation, but there are some items. As an example, one of our schools is looking, because the students voted it as such, to invest in a marquee. And so that's going to take a little bit of time to actually see the cash being spent. They've identified it. It's going to probably sit in their fund balance at the end of June, but it'll all tie back to their overall plan. So the dollars get spent with that vendor for the marquee. So let's say over the next 6 months or 9 months, then the cash balances on these reports should go down.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Sacco, for that explanation. Okay, if there's no other further questions, I will move approval of K4.
I'll second.
Okay, moved by Tarantino, seconded by Pike. Madam Clerk, will you call for the vote?
Hall,
Yes.
Solis,
Yes.
Pike,
Yes.
Segura,
Yes.
Tarantino.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Okay. Item K6, and that was pulled by Mrs. Hall, and that is approve the agreement for special services with the Howard E. Nyhart Company for actuarial valuation services for the period ended June 30th, 2020, and the year ended June 30th, 2021. Mrs. Hall.
Thank you, Mr. Tarantino. And I was actually, I'm glad to see this because I was just pulling out the actuarial study from the last time we had it, and I was trying to comb through it and look for something more recent. So I'm glad we're doing it. What I was asking really is about the retiree medical payments that we make for our retiree. There's a certain percentage that's covered by the district until they're a certain age, correct? Is that correct?
Correct.
Dr. Sacco?
Yeah. And I think
okay.
has probably some specifics, but yes, it's about a little over $14,000 per the negotiated agreement.
Per what?
Per person, per employee, or per retiree, up to the age of 65 for a retiree.
So in the recent SERP that we had a number of, well, over 300 retired, how did that significantly increase that liability? Is it considered a liability?
Right. We have a pay-as-you-go model in terms of making that contribution. So yes, when we did the analysis last year, so we have to do a full valuation every other year, but you still have to do an interim reporting. So it's in essence every year. We did do that calculation. It did increase that unfunded liability. There were two factors: the increased number of retirees, but also the discount rate was another factor that caused that liability amount to go up. But our responsibility under pay as we go is every year we set aside in our budget the amount of what's required to pay the retiree benefits. And we work
for that year. Correct? Just for that one fiscal year.
For the amount, it's a little over $3 to $4 million. $3
to $4 million in 1 year.
Correct. That's what we have set aside in the budget.
Okay, and then we project that out the 3 years, right? Because as we report our interims and build our budget, we have a 3-year projection, right? So you have to show that. Was that in our calculations when the statements were made to the board that the SERP was paying for itself? Was that part of the calculation?
Yes, when there were various assumptions that came into play, so we did share that analysis of what our obligations are for the retirees according to the contract. So that was a factor in that analysis.
Okay.
And we work closely with Dr. Glover's team in the benefits office when we evaluate, because as those retirees that took the SERP, some are already hitting the age of 65. And so when that drops off, and so when we do this report, because it's also a required report for the various GASBs, the Government Accounting Standard Board requirements, these go into also the audited financial reports. There's a note disclosure that highlights this information. So we will get that data set again from the benefits department effective July 1st. So again, if there are changes with retirees, that data set is then incorporated into the new calculation, the new valuation.
Okay, and then anybody that's retired this year that's under 65, they would be picked up in that July 1st data.
Correct.
And that it's also provided in part to our bond to the bond rating? It factors into our bond rating somehow, doesn't it?
They do. Their rating agencies. I have not had the opportunity here with Sweetwater yet, but yes, with other districts, it is credit rating analysts do inquire about that. They do look at that as a liability in essence. Compared to some other districts, Sweetwater probably has a lower liability. There are some other larger districts in the state that have a much higher obligation, but it is an area that they still look at.
So
again, back to that pay-go model.
Okay, thank you very much. That's my questions, and I will make a motion to approve item K6 or F6, H6.
K6.
K6. You were right. First time.
K6. Thanks.
Is there a second? Okay, moved by Hall, seconded by Solis. How's that? Madam Clerk, will you call for the vote?
Hall,
Yes.
Solis,
Yes.
Pike,
Yes.
Segura,
Yes.
Tarantino.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Okay, we're moving on to L3, which is adopt a declaration of need for fully qualified educators and authorize submission of the declaration of need to the California Commission on Teacher Credentialing for the 2020-2021 school year. And we have, it was pulled by staff as well as Mrs. Hall. So is there a presentation?
It's pulled by staff because one of the requirements of the declaration is that it be approved by the board as a separate item, not as part of the consent agenda. So we have to pull it and vote on it separately.
Oh, okay.
There is no report.
Okay, thank you for that clarification, Ms. Macedo. So, Mrs. Hall, you had some questions? Or you pulled the item?
Yeah. Yes. Is it lost on anyone else? I just was finding it a real, we're laying off teachers, yet we're filing an adoption of a need for fully qualified teachers. It just seems like a contradiction in terms. And I wanted to ask how that relates to our projected layoffs coming July 1st.
So, Mr. Tarantino, that would be Dr. Glover.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Jenny. Dr. Glover.
Thank you, President Tarantino, Ms. Hall, Board, Dr. Janney. This is an annual declaration, and where this plays into our PKS is they're sort of separate items. First things first, with the PKS, if we have a need for any one of the positions that were laid off, those folks will be recalled in seniority order according to the law. These are our information to the state to let them know that we may need people in these areas, not that we necessarily will. So some of our areas and some of our teachers that are not in a layoff status or a PKS status are using some of these credential items through the state. So this is our protection to be able to staff in a timely manner. If we were to have somebody that's in a non-layoff status, a teacher in a different subject matter that wasn't part of the PKS, if they leave and we can't find a qualified candidate, this enables us to come through and get whether it's a GLAP or a waiver. So it's just another support in staffing. But of course, as we know, we're obligated if there is a position that comes available that one of our teachers in layoff status can do, they will be recalled.
Does that help, Mrs. Hall?
Yeah, but it just doesn't. It's just a generic thing that we do so that we can do like when somebody really isn't qualified, we can let them do the job anyway. That's basically what it is, isn't it?
Well, it's a generic opportunity for some of our other teachers that might be credentialed in a different area. If they choose to try out a different subject matter, like let's say a physics teacher doing math or a math teacher doing physics, in the event that we don't have somebody in layoff status to recall to that, then we could try and work with them to get a credential. Because in the long term, my concern is so we can timely staff in the event that we lose a teacher in a different subject matter, that we'll have this available. Because part of my concern, Ms. Hall, is as the economy continues to get more difficult in California, we may lose teachers that aren't involved in our layout process at all, and then be looking for teachers to meet the needs of our students. So yeah, it doesn't feel good. I know that it looks like, why would we ask for librarians? But 3 years ago, I was looking for 5 or 6 librarians. So it's a matter of making sure we have this available to us in the event that we need to use it for staffing.
Thank you.
So it's kind of like an insurance policy, would you say, Dr. Glover?
Well, it provides an opportunity to work with the state, the staff more quickly versus having to bring it to you because, again, to have it available.
Okay, thank you. Okay, if there's no further discussion or questions, I will entertain a motion to accept L3.
I'll make a motion.
Moved by Pike, seconded by Solis. Madam Clerk, will you call for the vote?
Hall,
Yes.
Solis,
Yes.
Pike,
Yes.
Segura,
Yes.
Tarantino.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Okay, and the last item that's been pulled is L4, which is approve the request of certificate of completion of staff development waivers and placement for the 2020-21 school year for career technical education and special subjects teachers providing instruction in grades 7-12 while completing their staff development training in specially designed academic instruction, which is SUHSD, delivered in English to English learners. And that was pulled, by Mrs. Hall.
If I may, there's one correction in the analysis. It incorrectly states these waivers will be valid for the 1920 school year. It should be the 2021 school year.
Okay.
So we will fix that after approval.
Okay,
It states it correctly in the SUPREC.
Okay, thank you.
Go ahead, Mrs. Hall, sorry.
No, that's fine. Thank you for that clarification. Yes, my question was, how long does it take for someone to complete their staff development training and earn that completion certification for specially designed academic instruction in English to English learners?
And Mr. Tarantino, that would be Dr. Glover.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Jane.
Thank you, President Tarantino. Mrs. Hall, that's on a case-by-case basis, depending on what skill set the employee brings to us. There are 2-week courses through the County Office of Education. There's a Foundations Pedagogy course, which takes 4 weeks. So traditionally, it takes a couple of months, depending on what they can get accomplished while they're also working full-time as educators.
Well, it would behoove them to do it, though, right?
Yes, because it's portable. Once they have that, just like anyone else with a credential, that's more of their resume and their credentialing ability. Correct.
And how often do we have somebody coming for that waiver and then we waive it multiple times? Is there a limit to how many times they can request that waiver?
You know, Ms. Hall, I unfortunately, I don't know
or that we can allow the waiver
on the limit. There are waivers, like I said, and there's, I believe you can come back at least one time. I'll need to follow up with a Friday update on that. However, we monitor those because remember, like any other credential, if it comes due, we work with them. The biggest thing is a lot of our folks are coming from the trades, and so they're already trainers in their area of expertise. So now it's a matter of giving them pedagogy skills as well as skills for working with English language learners. But we're monitoring those and we keep them updated, and we usually start 60 days out reminding people that there are things coming due. Of course,
so is that all one thing, CTE and special subjects teachers? So that is just one type of teacher falling under the same umbrella of CTE is what I'm meaning to ask. Or are those two different? There's a CTE and there's special education.
Yes, this is not really for special educators. or
I mean,
special
subjects. Yeah.
Yeah, no, a majority of our folks are in the CTE area. And so we bring the waivers relatively often as we transition staff. And so you'll see them probably one every other month because we'd like to support them in getting into the classwork in order to help support in the classroom.
Great. Thank you. I appreciate that. And I'll make a motion to approve item L4.
Is there a second?
Second.
Was that Mr. Segura?
Segura. Yes.
Okay. Moved by
Segura
Hall. Segura Solis. Moved by Hall, seconded by Segura. Madam Clerk, will you call for the vote?
Hall,
Yes.
Solis,
Yes.
Pike,
Yes.
Segura,
Yes.
Tarantino.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
And with that,
Wait. I was just going to ask if Deanne, Ms. Macedo, would you be able to email the public comments to us? Or at
Yes.
least to me? I would be interested in having those. So thank you.
Sure.
Thank you very much, Mr. Tarantino, for your
Thanks.
indulgence.
thanks to all of you, and for those of you who are watching and listening in.